We were just doing our regular look at campaign filings, and we're always cautious for these innocuous names, right? Like Americans for Responsible Leadership or Job Security or for Fluffy Puppies or whatever. And when we saw this name, we immediately looked into it and saw that it was from Arizona, and the amount of money was a huge amount of money. If you give money to a campaign and it's quote-unquote earmarked, like there's a specific purpose for it, or to a PAC, then that person who earmarks it needs to be disclosed. We came to the conclusion that Americans for Responsible Leadership were not only earmarking but laundering funds. Was they dropped $11 million in California, where all of their activity up until that $11 million donation was less than $600,000 in the state of Arizona, where they were created and really showed most of their focus. Dropping $11 million in a state that you only mention once on your website is suspicious.
Yeah, the controversy over a donation of that size to such highly controversial propositions in Props 30 and 32 last fall caught a lot of people's attention who otherwise don't pay attention to fairly arcane issues of campaign finance. But $11 million is a lot of money. And because the debates over Prop 30 and 32 were so highly pitched, it led to a much larger debate than you normally see on matters of disclosure.
Yeah, I think Californians have become very savvy when it comes to the initiative process, at least among California voters. You know, most initiatives don't pass. Voters want to know who's putting the money up behind these propositions. We do a better job than most states of helping voters figure that out. Disclosure information for voters needs to not just be accessible, it needs to be obvious. It needs to be put under voters' noses when they're making their decisions. So we would like to see the top donor of an initiative qualification campaign named on the petition itself. We also want to see top donors listed in the ballot pamphlet. The state ballot pamphlet, also known as the official state voter information guide, is produced by the Secretary of State and is known to be the most valuable resource to California voters when it comes to making their choices. You know, right now we have online disclosure, but we have really almost too much of it. I looked at the committees for Prop 30, the governor's initiative. There were at least 25 committees involved in supporting or opposing that measure. And it is unreasonable to expect any voter is going to troll through 25 committees' filings on the Secretary of State's website to try to get some semblance of who the donors are. So we really need to give the voters more of a shortcut when it comes to identifying top donors, and that means putting that information in the ballot pamphlet.
The real key going forward, it seems to me, is to avoid a situation where you impose restrictions or disclosure by anecdote, but rather have a set of rules in place so that not only the organizations, but the people who donate to them understand going in whether or not their donations will ultimately be made public. So I'm not in a position to say which of these pieces of legislation necessarily is better or worse than the other, although Senator Correa's catches my eye in particular. But what I would say is a legislative fix is absolutely imperative.